Welcome back to the game today, where we've just witnessed a shocking tackle on Raheem Sterling, who remains injured on the ground after Dunk flew into the challenge. It's been a rough game today, with challenges coming thick and fast, leading to cards being provided and even a red being shown. While he recovers, let's go to our correspondent Ruben, who can give us an insight of aggression. Ruben, firstly, have all these challenges been aggressive, and what does the word really represent in sport?
Well, firstly, we can look into one of the most recent definitions, which is from Todd Thatcher and Rahman in 2010, stating that aggression is intentionally harmful physical actions as opposed to a cognitive or affective state. This suggests that for it to be aggression, the act must have intent and cause hurt to the opponent, rather than them have aggressive thought processes and be in an angry state of mind. In addition to this, many also use Gill's criteria of aggression 1986 to clarify what is and isn't aggression, as it outlines 4 features that the act must have for it to be considered aggressive. For example, one of these features includes an intent to harm, similarly to the definition, meaning if the action is accidental, it is not aggression. This could be seen in a sport like football, as although a hard challenge may be viewed as aggressive and may even injure the opponent, it may not actually be aggression if the player intended to win the ball fairly. This is usually something the ref has to interpret. Aggression also has to be physical or verbal, once again similar to the definition, suggesting that the player has to act on their emotions, as it is behaviour. So in a footballing scenario, an action like a punch or damaging words would have to be exchanged, as opposed to the thought of it. The third factor is that using this theory, the anger has to be directed to another living being. During a football game, you often see players punch the ground when perhaps making a mistake that leads to a goal, and may perceive it as aggression. However, this states that is not in fact aggression, as it is not directed at a living being, whereas attacking a player would be. Finally, the last criteria says that the act has to cause harm or injury to the opponent, whether it's psychologically or physically. This has been seen earlier in the game in a contest between Duffy and Aguero, as it could be seen that due to Duffy's frustration in marking Aguero, when rising for the header, Shane elbowed his opponent, causing him to fall. This is considered aggression, as not only did he successfully harm the player with a physical action, but also had the intent to do it, as his frustration motivated him to lash out and subsequently receive a yellow card from the referee.
Thanks for that, Ruben. Now, we've seen many aggressive challenges throughout the game under different circumstances. However, some have been more punished heavily than others. Is there a reason for this?
Yes, there are many different types of aggression, meaning certain actions fall under different categories, the 2 main being hostile and instrumental. There are many factors that influence what type of aggression may be used, as it relies heavily on the situation, experience of players, role of the coach, and the nature of the sport.
Interesting. So what type of aggression was seen when Murray was fouled just outside the penalty box minutes before the end of the half?
That was in fact instrumental aggression, as it was directed to help achieve a goal, in this example to not concede, as Laporte harmed the striker who had a clear-sighted goal and would likely score, ultimately breaking the rules of the sport. This example is very in line with the definition from Todd Thatcher and Rahman in 2010, which states instrumental aggression holds focus on completing a competitive goal through harmful means. It was found by Coulomb and Pfister in 1998 that this type of aggression is often used by players with more experience, as they know the consequences, however understand that it will overall be beneficial for the team, despite them maybe receiving a red card, like in this case due to him being the last man. This type of aggression can be a highly useful tactic to implement in team sports, as the team are likely going to be able to deal with the loss of a player for a period of time, as they have many other players who can cover, as we have seen with City who have now changed formation. However, it is rarely seen in individual sports, as they would also likely be sanctioned, however have no one to cover for them. One of the main features about this aggression is that it is calculated, meaning the player has considered the circumstances and concluded that harming the player would be beneficial to the team. Coaches may also have an influence on their players becoming instrumentally aggressive, as towards the end of the game you can often see them encouraging the team to do what they have to protect the lead, even if that means harming a player in the process, as long as it helps reach a goal. However, as this particular type involves an intent to harm, many coaches also try to discourage it.
So the challenge on Sterling just a few minutes ago, was that also instrumental aggression?
No, that was actually a type of hostile aggression, as the sole intention of the challenge was to inflict pain on the individual and had no beneficial goal. In this case, it was seen with physical abuse, however it can also refer to verbal abuse as well whether towards the ref or another team's player. It was clear this was hostile aggression, as the player went into Sterling already frustrated and clearly had no aim to get the ball. Furthermore, he had already produced a hostile act when kicking out against Mahrez earlier in the game. As opposed to instrumental aggression, this is usually seen by less experienced players, as it has a negative effect on the team due to it leading to a sanction, as it is against the rules, with no goal accomplished. This is why experienced players, like the captain for example, will often take their player to the side and try and calm them down instead of getting into a brawl, as they understand what is best for the team. Reactive aggression also falls under this category, as a player may be provoked through bad tackles, poor decisions, or other players causing them to become frustrated, leading to hostile aggression. In almost every case, coaches will also discourage this aggression due to the disruption it causes to the team and the primary intention to harm another player. The nature of the sport is also very important to look into when interpreting if something is hostile aggression, as said by Wigan James et al. In 2006, who said that it was important to realise that acts of aggression may be interpreted differently depending on the nature of the sport. This could be seen in boxing, as a legal punch is seen as fair and assertive, whereas if there was a punch during a football game, it'd be a type of hostile aggression, as it is against the rules and achieves no goal for the team.